Hello, everybody. Welcome to Truthworthy. This is Levi Pingleton. Today, I'm going to be going through further on our A to Z unanimous consensus of the fathers on geocentric cosmology from Galileo Was Wrong, The Church Was Right, Volume 3 by Dr. Robert Sungenis. And today, I'm going to be starting with St. John Cassian. So, without further ado, let's get into it. From St. John Cassian. He was a man who, after the close of his life had been decreed, and the day of his death determined by the Lord's sentence, prevailed by a single prayer to extend the limit set to his life by 15 years, the sun returning by 10 steps, on which it had already shone in its course towards its setting, and by its return dispersing those lines which the shadow that followed its course had already marked, and by this giving 2 days in one to the whole world, by a stupendous miracle contrary to the fixed laws of nature. Yet after signs so great and so incredible, after such immense proofs of his goodness, here the scripture tell how he was destroyed by his very successes. From St. Chrysostom. For they who are mad imagine that nothing stands still. Yet this arises not from the objects that are seen, but from the eyes that see. Because they are unsteady and giddy, they think that the earth turns round with them, which yet it turns not, but stands firm. The derangement is of their own state, not from any affection of the element. Again from Chrysostom. Dost thou not see how God is daily blasphemed and mocked by believers and unbelievers, both in a word and in deed? What then? Has he for this extinguished the sun, or stayed the course of the moon? Has he crushed the heavens and uprooted the earth? Has he dried up the sea? Has he shut up the fountains of waters, or confounded the air? Nay, on the contrary, he makes the sun to rise, his rain to descend, gives the fruits of the earth in their seasons, and thus supplies yearly nourishment to the blasphemers, to the insensible, to the polluted, to persecutors, not for one day or two, but for their whole life. Imitate him then, emulate him, as far as human powers admit. Can thou not make the sun arise? Again from Chrysostom. And what took place at a later period were few, and at intervals. For example, when the sun stood still in its course, and started back in the opposite direction. And this one may see to have occurred in our case also, for so even in our generation, in the instance of whom, or of him who surpassed all in ungodliness, I mean Julian, many strange things happened. Thus, when the Jews were attempting to raise up again the temple at Jerusalem, fire burst out from the foundations and utterly hindered them all. Again from Chrysostom. And again, David saith of the Son, that he is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a giant to run his course. Seest how thou he places before thee the beauty of this star, and its greatness. For even as a bridegroom, when he appears from some stately chamber, so the sun sends forth his rays under the east, and adorning the heaven, as it were, with a saffron colored veil, and making the clouds like roses, and running unimpeded all the day, he meets no obstacle to interrupt his course. Beholdest thou then his beauty? Again from Chrysostom. For he not only made it, but provided also that when it was made, it should carry on its operations, not permitting it to be all immovable, nor commanding it to be all in a state of motion. The heaven, for instance, hath remained immovable, according as the prophet says, he placed the heaven as a vault, and stretched it out as a tent over the earth. But on the other hand, the sun, with the rest of the stars, runs on his course through every day. and again the earth is fixed. But the waters are continually in motion, and not the waters only, but the clouds, and the frequent and successive showers, which return at their proper season. Another one from Chrysostom, referring to the end of the world. For the heaven shall be disturbed, and the earth shall be shaken from its foundations, by reason of the fury of the wrath of the Lord of Sabaoth, in the day when his wrath shall come upon us. And again windows, he saith, shall be opened from the heaven, and foundations of the earth shall be shaken. The earth shall be mightily confounded. The earth shall be bent low, shall be perplexed with great perplexity. The earth shall stagger grievously like the drunkard and the reveler. The earth shall shake as a hut. It shall fall and not be able to rise up again. For iniquity has waxed mighty therein. And God shall set his hand upon the host of the heaven in the height in that day, and upon the kingdoms of the earth. And he shall gather together the congregation thereof into a prison, and shall shut them up in a stronghold. And Malachi, speaking concordantly with these, said, Behold, the Lord Almighty cometh, and who shall abide the day of his coming, or shall stand when he appeareth? For he cometh like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. And he shall sit refining and purifying as it were silver, and as it were gold. Again from Chrysostom. Consider of how great value is the righteous man. Joshua the son of Nun said, Let the sun stand still at Gibeon, the moon at the valley of Elam. And it was so. Let then the whole world come, or rather 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 or 20 worlds, and let them say and do this, yet shall they not be able. But the friend of God commanded the creatures of his friend, or rather he besought his friend, and the servants yielded. And he below gave command to those above. Seest thou that these things are for the service, fulfilling their appointed course? This was greater than the miracles of Moses. Why, I ask? Because it is not like a thing to command the sea and the heavenly bodies. For that indeed was also a great thing, yea, very great. Nevertheless, it was not at all equal to the other. Why was this? The name of Joshua, Jesus, was a type. For this reason, then, and because of the very name, the creation reverenced him. What then? Was no other person called Jesus? Yes, but this man was on this account so called in type, for he used to be called Hoshea. Therefore, in the name was changed, for it was a prediction and a prophecy. He brought in the people into the promised land, as Jesus does into heaven. Not the law, since neither did Moses bring them in, but remained without. Another one from Chrysostom. Therefore it was that Joshua the son of Nun said, Let the sun stand still at Gibeon, and the moon over the valley of Ajalon. And again the prophet Isaiah made the sun to retrace his steps under the reign of Hezekiah. And Moses gave orders to the air, and the sea, the earth, and the rocks. Elisha changed the nature of the waters. The 3 children triumphed over the fire. Thou seest how God hath provided for us on either hand, leading us by the beauty of the elements to the knowledge of his divinity, and by their feebleness not permitting us to lapse into the worship of them. And that'll conclude for now the unanimous consensus of the fathers on geocentric cosmology from Galileo Was Wrong, The Church Was Right, Volume 3 by Dr. Robert Sungenis. Get it at robertsungenis.com and visit CAI at robertsungenis.com, journeys to the center of the universe.com, and robertsungenis.substack.com. And you can visit me at levipingleton.substack.com. Next time, we'll get into St. Clement of Rome. God bless you and peace be with you.